So think about the affection you feel for your spouse, your kids, or, your best friend.
Right.
What if that isn't actually an emotion at all?
That's a huge question to start with.
Right. What if it's like a literal, quantifiable, physics-based energy? I mean, the exact same invisible force that holds a tree's roots in the dirt.
It completely upends our standard biological understanding of human connection, honestly.
Totally. Because it takes something we usually view as um, purely sentimental, and it treats it as the actual structural foundation of reality.
Exactly. And that's what we're looking at today. We're getting into this fascinating, highly philosophical framework by Zhifeng.
Yes, it's titled 36-8 Trigram Arrays, specifically the array of affection.
It's a dense text, but it's brilliant. It's really going to force you to question your deepest assumptions about love, attachment, and, well, the actual architecture of the soul.
Yeah. Today's deep dive is basically a mission to completely rewire how you view every single relationship you have.
A pretty light undertaking for today, huh?
Oh yeah, just casual universe-altering stuff.
Yeah.
But seriously, we're going to explore the mechanics of how this energy works.
Let's jump right into the deep end then, because Feng frames this entire exploration around a really uncomfortable question right at the start.
Yeah, there's this quote from a 13th century poem by Yuan.
Oh, right, the one about the travelers.
Yeah, it asks, what in the world is affection? That it inspires beings to vow to accompany each other in life and death.
It's such a striking image.
It paints this massive, dramatic picture of travelers enduring just absolute misery, flying through bitter cold and intense heat simply because they can't bear the pain of parting.
And right after that poem, the text deliberately catalogs this sort of hall of fame of heartbreak.
Oh, the tragic figures list.
Yes.
Oh.
The author is making a very specific point here. We get this list of legendary romances, like the Weaver girl coming down to the mortal world to marry the cowherd.
Right, and the White Sneak transforming into Lady White just to marry Zhu Xian.
Exactly. Or Meng Jiangnu, who wept so bitterly over her husband's death that a literal section of the Great Wall of China collapsed.
And obviously the one everyone in the West knows, Romeo willingly drinking poison in a tomb.
Right. And normally, society puts those stories on this massive pedestal.
Oh, totally. I mean, we write pop songs about dying for love. Blockbuster movies basically tell you that sacrificing everything for one single person is the ultimate goal of human existence.
But Su Yifeng looks at those classic romances and says, wait a minute, this is a psychological black hole.
Yeah, that really caught me off guard.
The argument the text makes is that this specific kind of intense, narrowed affection leads directly to chaos.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit, because the text actually diagnoses this state, right? It calls it the
cliff of broken hearts?
Yes, the cliff of broken hearts. And if you look at the actual outcomes of fervent, singular romantic obsession, the results in this framework are incredibly grim.
They really are. It points out that this kind of narrow affection just leads to secret affairs, murder, the destruction of homes, and literally the demise of the people involved.
It's like, what is the point of all that passion when ultimately the brilliance fades, regrets last a lifetime, and you're just left with nothing but hatred and shame?
It's a harsh reality check.
I was thinking about it like electrical current.
Okay, I like where this is going.
If you push the entire power grid of a city through a single household wire, that wire doesn't just glow brighter.
Right, it melts.
Exactly. It catches fire and it burns the whole house down. And that is basically Romeo and Juliet. They pushed a cosmic amount of universal energy through one single human connection.
That is a phenomenal way to visualize the mechanism at play here.
Thanks. It just clicked for me.
Because when you overinvest in one single note of affection and that connection is inevitably lost, whether that's through death, betrayal, or just time passing, the structural integrity of your soul basically collapses.
And the text has a phrase for that, right?
Yeah.
The people left behind.
Yes, it describes them as wandering souls on the verge of collapse.
Wow. Wandering souls.
They become completely aimless because their soul energy conduit has been severed. They literally have no other way to process the universe.
So that brings up a really big question for me. If this narrow romantic love is structurally doomed to collapse, how has humanity survived this long?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. Like, if pushing all your energy through one wire guarantees a fire, what's our safety net so we don't all just tear ourselves apart?
Well, the author argues that a safety net naturally exists because affection forms an inescapable web.
An inescapable web.
Yeah, you couldn't isolate yourself completely even if you tried. And this brings us directly to the title of the text itself, the 8-trigram array.
Okay, let's break that down because 8-trigram array sounds, incredibly technical to anyone who isn't familiar with Eastern philosophy.
It does sound a bit intimidating.
Like, what does an ancient symbol actually have to do with an energy grid?
So, in traditional Chinese cosmology, the Bagua, or the 8 trigrams, represent the fundamental principles of reality.
Right, the elements.
Exactly. You have elements like heaven, earth, water, fire, mountain, wind, thunder, and lake.
And they're all interacting, right?
Yes, these forces are constantly intermingling and shifting to form the entire universe. Zhu Feng takes this ancient philosophical concept and maps it onto a structural view of reality.
So it's not just a metaphor.
No, the array represents a localized gravitational pull. It is a literal energy grid that holds different levels of life in their proper spaces.
I see. So the human web is part of this array. It's not just about your romantic partner.
Right.
It's the affection you have for your parents, your siblings, your teachers. Heck, even the nostalgia you feel for your hometown.
All of those count.
They act as intersecting points on this grid, distributing the electrical current so the wire doesn't melt.
Precisely. But here's where Su Feng pushes this concept way past just human beings.
Oh yeah, this is where it gets really metaphysical.
It zooms out to a cosmic scale. The framework defines affection as a non-material energy embedded in life itself. So yes, the greatest creator has affection. Celestial beings have divine affection.
But also birds, beasts, ghosts, monsters.
Yes, all of them.
Okay, wait. Here's where I have to push back a little on behalf of the listener.
Go for it.
If a blade of grass has affection, which the framework explicitly says it does, we are clearly stripping away all human sentimentality from that word.
Oh, absolutely.
Because a blade of grass is obviously not writing a love letter. A tree isn't feeling like warm and fuzzy about the squirrel living in its branches.
No, not at all. And the distinction between human emotion and non-material energy is so vital here.
Okay, explain that tree's affection then.
A tree's affection is the literal energy connecting it to the soil, the sun, and the surrounding ecosystem.
Ah, so it's a structural bond.
Yes, it is the invisible force that disciplines the tree to behave like a tree and to flourish in its specific environment. Without this invisible web holding it in place, life simply perishes.
And the text calls this larger grid something else, doesn't it?
It refers to this all-encompassing grid as the heavenly net.
The heavenly net. Okay, so affection is the invisible glue keeping every layer of reality from flying apart.
That's a great way to put it.
But I'm still trying to grasp the, mechanical reality of this. How does this energy interact with us functionally?
Right. The
Mechanics, well, we know it has it, we know it forms a grid, but the text breaks down the actual physics of the soul to explain this, right?
It does. It uses a very specific triad to map out the universe. The framework argues that the universe is constituted by 3 distinct elements: consciousness, structure, and energy.
Consciousness, structure, and energy.
And it pairs these 3 elements with 3 great treasures of life: Tao, nature, and love.
Okay, let's slow down and connect those pairings so we understand how they interact.
Think of it as a set of rules. Tao is the characteristic of consciousness. Nature is the characteristic of structure. And love is the characteristic of energy.
I'm struggling with this triad just a bit.
Yeah. It's a lot of abstract concepts at once.
Let's use a modern analogy. If structure is like a physical car and consciousness is the driver behind the wheel, where does affection actually sit?
I see where you're going.
Because right now, this sounds like a really complex machine completely missing its power source.
You've hit the nail on the head. Affection is the power source.
Ah.
The framework states that while affection contains elements of both consciousness and structure, its true essence is energy.
Okay, that makes sense.
Let's look at the causality. Structure requires natural laws to exist without collapsing into chaos. That is nature. Consciousness requires a guiding path or logic to make decisions. That is Tao.
Right.
But neither the physical structure of the car nor the guiding consciousness of the driver can animate without fuel. Affection is the vital, non-material energy required by consciousness and structure to actually function.
So the car has an engine, the driver has a map, but affection is the gasoline making the entire journey possible.
Exactly.
It's the raw energy pushing everything forward.
And the author actually provides a much more relatable, everyday metaphor for this dynamic that directly applies to your daily routine.
Oh, I love a good everyday metaphor.
For human life, affection is like salt.
Salt. Okay. That immediately makes sense.
Right.
If you're cooking a massive pot of soup and you forget the salt entirely, the dish is completely bland.
Exactly. Xu Feng says if affection is too weak, life is tasteless.
Yeah, if you have no connections, no passions, no ties to your community, you're just going through the motions. You're eating the soup, but you aren't enjoying it at all.
But what happens if you dump the entire container of salt into a single bowl?
Oh, it completely ruins the dish. It becomes bitter and literally inedible.
And that bitterness brings us right back to the cliff of broken hearts we discussed earlier.
Wow, yes. Romeo and Juliet dumped all their salt into one bowl.
They really did. When you pour all your energetic fuel into one single point of structure, it turns toxic. The salt ceases to be a flavor enhancer and becomes a poison.
Which leaves us with a massive dilemma.
It does.
If you're listening to this and you realize that too much salt ruins your life, but too little leaves you starving for connection, how do you get the balance right?
That is the ultimate question here.
How do you escape this bitter trap that Xu Feng calls the human 8-trigram array? Because nobody wants to end up drinking poison in a tomb.
Well, the proposed solution is highly controversial at first glance. The framework instructs the reader to escape the human array by abandoning human affection and actively seeking divine affection.
Wait, I have to stop you there.
I knew you would.
Telling you, the listener, to intentionally care less about your parents or to purposely diminish the love you have for your spouse sounds incredibly harsh.
It does sound jarring.
The text explicitly says to diminish monogamous affection between men and women. That contradicts everything society teaches us about being a good, loyal, loving human being.
It absolutely sounds cold initially, but this raises an essential question about scale.
Okay, explain the scale then.
This philosophy isn't advocating for apathy, it's advocating for expansion. The core rule of Xu Feng's framework is this: the narrower the affection, the closer it is to hell. The broader the affection, the closer it is to heaven.
Narrow equals hell.
Right.
Broad equals heaven. So, okay, diminishing human affection doesn't mean becoming an unfeeling robot.
Not at all.
It means stopping the laser beam.
Precisely. It is about removing the deadly hyperfocus. If you stop pushing all your universal energy into one single human being, you stop trapping yourself in the human array.
You avoid melting the electrical wire.
Exactly. The instruction is to reallocate that energy. The text advises you to deepen your affection for the universe, for the fairyland, for truth, and for the greatest creator.
You know, Xu Feng introduces a brilliant paradox here that really caught me off guard when I first read it.
Which part?
In practice, having more relatives, having more lovers, loving the mountains and rivers, and cherishing all life actually makes your affection more divine.
It feels counterintuitive, doesn't it? Like, how does having more lovers make you more divine? But according to the mechanics of this energy grid, expanding the net diffuses the voltage.
Ah, the voltage drops.
You aren't cutting off love. You are spreading it so widely across nature, across your community, and across multiple connections that it ceases to be a selfish, destructive trap.
That is profound.
The richer and broader the affection, the more divine it becomes. The poorer and narrower your focus, the more vulnerable you are to tragedy.
So you're taking that exact same salt and instead of dumping it in one bowl, you're sprinkling it across the entire cosmos.
Exactly.
Imagine taking the obsessive energy you might pour into a failing relationship, and instead you distribute it. You love the trees in your neighborhood, you love the rivers, you pour energy into your friends, your art, your very existence.
You stop suffocating one person with the weight of your entire soul.
Yes.
Yeah.
You align your personal, localized energy grid with the massive, universal heavenly net.
And in doing so, you transition from being a victim of affection's gravity to a conscious participant in the force that binds all life together.
Man, the final poem in the text perfectly synthesizes this entire journey.
It really is a beautiful conclusion.
It goes, deeply affectionate, earnestly heartfelt, mountains, rivers, and all things are loved by me. And then it ends with unending affection, not obsessed with affection. My affection pervades all.
Unending affection, not obsessed with affection.
That one line feels like the master key to this whole philosophy. It's the realization of turning beautiful ideals into reality through boundless, unobsessed love.
It really is. And, as you step back into your day, I want you to consider how this ancient cosmic framework applies to our increasingly strange modern world.
Ooh, okay, where are we going with this?
Well, if affection is truly a non-material energy that binds consciousness and structure, What happens when we start pouring our deep affection energy into artificial structures?
Oh, wow. Like AI.
Yes, when we invest our soul's vital fuel into digital avatars, AI companions, or entirely one-sided parasocial relationships online.
That is so relevant right now.
Are we expanding our nets toward a broad divine affection, or are we building a brand new, highly isolated artificial 8-trigram array?
And if we pour all our cosmic salt into a machine that literally cannot return that energy,
Are we just inching closer to a digital cliff of broken hearts?
that is a staggering thought. Are we broadening our capacity to love the universe, or are we just finding high-tech ways to make our energy dangerously narrow?
It's definitely something to chew on.
Seriously, think about where you are directing your current the next time you pour your energy into a screen. Well, thank you for joining us on this mind-expanding deep dive. Try to look at the trees, look at your friends, and look at the universe with a little more broad, unobsessed affection today. We will catch you next time.